If you're like many of us, the thought of that deer in headlights moment when you're giving a presentation and all of a sudden you forget what you have to say, that moment can keep you up at night. But stay tuned, I've got you covered. I'm going to unpack 5 hacks backed by neuroscience to make sure that you deliver your presentation with the memory capacity of a Broadway actor. Hi everyone, I'm Fia Fasbinder and welcome to Moxie Talk, where we help you find your voice, share your message, and lead with confidence. Today we are talking about memory hacks to help you memorize your speech or presentation. But before we do, if you are watching me on YouTube, please make sure to hit that alert button so that you get notified every time I put out new content. And if you enjoy this video, make sure to like it, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel. Now, I'm not a big fan of hacks for memorizing a presentation. In fact, I often use the motto with my clients, which they don't like very much, of breathe, practice, repeat. But let's face it, we are all busy and most of us don't have the time to pore over the content of our speeches 100 times. At Moxie, we don't recommend you craft or memorize your presentation verbatim. We recommend fleshed out talking points, except for the intro and the outro. The intro, because that is when we're most nervous and most likely to blank on our lines or say silly random things that aren't what we're prepared to say because our prefrontal cortex is literally shutting down due to fight or flight. And the outro, because we all want to land that plane smoothly and on time, or in other words, we want to leave the audience with an impactful close. Now, that being said, even memorizing an intro, outro, and talking points can be a lot. So here's a little gift from me to you with some tricks that you can use to help yourself memorize your next presentation. Number 1 is repetition. Now, it's worth mentioning why repetition works and how to do it best. Now, there is something called Hebb's Law, and Hebb's Law is that neurons that fire together wire together. So what does this mean for memorizing? You are literally strengthening the neural pathways in your brain every time you repeat something. Those neural pathways go from dark little skinny alleyways to super highways just by repeating your content. So if you're using repetition, I would try what I call the 20-20-20 rule. So this means you are going to read your presentation to yourself for 20 minutes. Then you are going to repeat that same content, but this time you're going to say it aloud for 20 minutes. And then the last 20 minutes, you are going to see if you can remember what you said without looking at the content. So this is called the 20-20-20 process, and you will have to repeat this process for as many sessions as you need to get through your presentation. So if you have a 40-minute presentation, you might need to do this twice. And this is best done before bed, which we will discuss why in a little bit. Now, I get it that most of us don't have time to repeat something 1,000 times to strengthen those neural pathways. So let me give you a couple other techniques that you can use. The second point is emotion. Now, when we infuse our content with emotion, it helps us remember. There was a really interesting study done on participants where one group of participants read a really boring paragraph, and the other group read a paragraph that had emotional content. And then both groups were asked to recall details of the paragraph in a pop quiz. The group who had the content with emotion in the paragraph remembered much better. Now, this is not news. We've known this since the 1600s, but what does this mean for you when you memorize? This means if you can tell stories, if you can put emotionally evocative photos into your PowerPoint, if you can cite case studies, all of this will be infused with emotion and it will absolutely help you memorize that dry content. Technique number 3 is a little less likely, and that is adding a little stress to our lives. Now, stress actually helps us remember. In a recent study they did where they took a group of participants, and one group had to put their hand all the ways up to their shoulder into ice water. The other group didn't. And then both groups had to read a paragraph. Now, I know I've given you a spoiler here, but the group that stuck their hands all the ways up to their shoulder into ice water remembered more. Now, why is this? What we have learned about memory is that when we release adrenaline, which is the hormone that's released when we are in any kind of stress, we remember better. So this is to say that if you want to add to your memory techniques, you can learn some content and then have a cup of coffee, or learn some content and then do some jumping jacks or exercise, or learn some content and then watch a scene from a scary movie. The trick to this is actually to learn the content and then to do the stress-inducing activity. You want to spike your adrenaline after the learning session. Technique number 4 is sleep. It turns out that sleeping on it really works. So we actually learn when we are in our deepest states of sleep, or something that people that meditate, people that do yoga call a non-sleep deep rest. So either actually sleeping on it or doing non-sleep deep rest. That's a mouthful. And that is only to be done by people that are very familiar and advanced with that technique in yoga. But it turns out that we actually strengthen our neural circuits when we are sleeping or in this non-sleep deep rest. So this can happen hours after we try to memorize something. So we learn it, we remember it, and then it's true, we sleep on it, and it really works. So if a nap doesn't affect your sleep, it's a really great idea to try to learn something and then sleep on it, or try to learn something and do a deep meditation session. This will improve your learning process. And last but not least is what we know about exercise and memory. It is true that learning doesn't actually create new neural pathways, it just strengthens them. But when we exercise, we actually help to build new neural pathways when we learn. And the only exception to this would be exercise that is so intense that it actually causes severe or chronic stress. But in a study in humans and mice, it's pointed out that up to 180 to 200 minutes of exercise a week will help you build your new neural pathways, strengthen your old ones so that you can not only learn new content, but remember it. So that's it. Next time you need to remember content for a high-stakes presentation or speech, use one of those 5 hacks that we covered: repetition, emotion, inducing stress, sleeping on it, and exercise. In fact, use all 5 if you need a lot of techniques. I hope that this content was helpful for you. I hope it helps you memorize your next presentation. If you found it valuable, like I said at the beginning, please make sure to like us, share us, check out moxieinstitute.com for more information on what we do here at Moxie. And until next time, make sure to speak boldly, lead brilliantly, and speak with Moxie.